Very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and these are the headlines. Vice President Naidu holds bilateral talks with his Vietnamese counterpart in Hanoi. Focus on increasing cooperation in defense, science, technology and innovation. Both sides reiterate importance of a peaceful Indo-Pacific region. Last day of campaigning for the 6th phase, 59 seats across 7 states to go to polls on 12th of May. Union Ministers Harshvardhan, Narendra Singh Tomar, Radha Mohan Singh, Maneka Gandhi in the fray. Fates of former Chief Ministers Sheila Dikshit, Akhilesh Yadav, Digvijay Singh, Bhupendra Hooda to be sealed. Prime Minister Modi to campaign in 3 states, rallies in Rohtak in Haryana, Mandi in Himachal Pradesh, public meeting in Hoshiarpur in Punjab. Supreme Court to hear review pleas on Rafale verdict. Rahul Gandhi contempt petition today. Hearing follows Rahul's unconditional apology to the Supreme Court over misquoting the verdict in his remarks against the Prime Minister. US-China talks to end trade war underway. US President Donald Trump says deal with China still possible. US all set to raise tariffs on Chinese products worth $200 billion from midnight. The top story this morning: on the second day of his 4-day visit to Vietnam, Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu held bilateral talks with his Vietnamese counterpart. Both leaders agreed to further strengthen bilateral cooperation in the areas of defense, peaceful uses of atomic energy and outer space, science and technology, renewable energy, infrastructure development, agriculture and innovation-based sectors. Both the leaders reiterated the importance of building a peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific region for national sovereignty and international law. Vice President Naidu also paid a tribute to martyrs at the Monument of National Heroes and Martyrs.
India and Vietnam today have a strong bilateral relationship based on mutual trust, understanding, convergence of views on regional and international issues. We covered a wide range of bilateral, multilateral cooperation. We have agreed to strengthen further our bilateral cooperation in defense, security, peaceful use of atomic energy and outer space, science and technology, oil and gas, renewable energy, infrastructure development, agriculture and innovation-based sectors. India is providing extensive and sustained training support to Vietnam's armed forces and the implementation of the line of credit of $100 million for building high-speed patrol vessels for Vietnamese border guards is progressing satisfactorily. We also reviewed today implementation of the line of credit of $500 million for defense industry cooperation announced during the visit of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Bhai Modi in 2016.
India and Vietnam have seen a series of visits from both the sides. Prime Minister and the President Ramnath Kovind visited in 2018. This is the Honorable Vice President visited this time. So India and Vietnam have been interacting on various issues, including extending cooperation on trade, bilateral issues, and bringing in some kind of stability in the region. And they are also agreed to extend cooperation on fields such as space, technology, language training. So India has been a developmental partner in Vietnam's progress and has been extending its support for the developmental process here in Vietnam. Today, the Vice President went to the Mausoleum of Martyrs and paid tributes to martyrs, and later he interacted with the Vice President, who is his counterpart here in Vietnam, and discussed a range of issues, including extending cooperation on defense, science, space, technology, agriculture and high-tech to teach English language, which has been a significant part part of India's outreach program. Shri Naidu actually is in Vietnam to participate in the 16th Vesak celebrations, which are going to be held on 12th, and which is an important occasion. He's going to deliver a keynote address there.
And earlier on Thursday, Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu kicked off his 4-day official visit to Vietnam by addressing the Indian community soon after his arrival in Hanoi and describing the ties between India and Vietnam as a civilizational and historic. The Vice President said that the partnership with Vietnam has stood the test of time.
In a bid to enhance India's comprehensive strategic partnership with Vietnam, and to deliver the keynote address at the 16th United Nations Vesak Divas on 12th of May, Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu arrived in Hanoi, Vietnam on Thursday. He was received by the Vice Chairman of President's Office, Vietnam, Chu Van Yem, the Ambassador of Vietnam to India, Pham San Chau, and the Ambassador of India to Vietnam, P. Harish, among others. Later, the Vice President attended the reception hosted by the Indian Ambassador and also addressed the Indian community. Calling India a partner in Vietnam's progress, the Vice President said successive generations of leaders from Ho Chi Minh and Mahatma Gandhi to the current leaders have built upon this trust and goodwill between the two countries.
The relationship between India and Vietnam is civilizational, historic, and our partnership has stood the test of time. More than 2,000 years ago, Indian monks and traders brought with them the message of peace and compassion of Lord Buddha to Vietnam. Our successive generations of leaders, starting from Sri Ho Chi Minh and Sri Mahatma Gandhi to the current leaders, have built upon this trust and goodwill between both the nations.
The Vice President said the Indian community in Vietnam, though small in number, has numerous achievements to its credit and was well respected.
India has been a steady and strong developmental partner of Vietnam. Over the years, Vietnam has been successful in making huge socio-economic advances. Indians and Indian businessmen and industry in Vietnam have been instrumental in promoting bilateral understanding and creating opportunities for the local economy and the society.
Vice President of India kickstarted his Vietnam's visit by interacting with the Indian community who has been a part of Vietnam's progress process, and he invited them to invest in India and take part in India's developmental story as well. He also conveyed India's growth story to the diaspora when he interacted with the Indian community yesterday.
With inputs from Rajkamal Rao, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now time to get all the election-related news. Well, campaigning for the 6th phase of Lok Sabha elections will end this evening. And 59 seats in 7 states will go to polls on 12th of May in the 6th phase, which is the penultimate round of Lok Sabha elections. And polling for all the 10 seats in Haryana and 7 seats of Delhi, 14 seats in Uttar Pradesh, 8 seats each in West Bengal, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, and 4 in Jharkhand will go to polls in this phase. Over 10 crore and 16 lakh voters will decide the fate of 979 candidates in this phase. Over 1,13,000 polling stations have been set up for the smooth conduct of the polls. And speaking about the prominent candidates in this phase, our Union Ministers Harshvardhan, Maneka Gandhi, Narendra Singh Tomar, Radha Mohan Singh, and former Chief Ministers as well, including Sheila Dikshit, Digvijay Singh, Akhilesh Yadav, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, and Jagdambika Pal. And also in the fray are former Union Ministers Jyotiraditya Scindia and Ajay Makan, Kumari Shailaja, Raghubansh Prasad Singh as well, and celebrities turned politicians Manoj Tiwari, Gautam Gambhir, Vijender Singh and Kirti Azad are also trying their luck in this particular phase. And news from West Bengal, where the centre will deploy over 71,000 security personnel to ensure violence-free elections in 8 Lok Sabha constituencies of West Bengal in the 6th phase on 12th of May. Polling will be held in Tamluk, Kanti, Gathal, Jhargram, Medinipur, Purulia, Bankura and Bishnupur constituencies on Sunday. 602 companies of the Central Armed Police Forces, CRPF, BSF, CISF, SSB, ITBP, RPF and RAF and 111 companies of the State Armed Police Forces are also being deployed and 547 quick action teams are also on alert. Remember, the decision has been taken considering the incidents of violence in the previous rounds of polls and sensitivity of these areas in the Maoist affected zones. So it is the last day of campaigning for the 6th phase of Lok Sabha polls and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will campaign in Haryana, Himachal Pradesh and Punjab today. Prime Minister Modi will address a public rally in Rohtak in Haryana. Remember, Rohtak is going to polls in the 6th phase on 12th of April. And in Himachal Pradesh, Prime Minister Modi will hold a rally in Mandi today. And this will be followed by a public rally in Hoshiarpur in Punjab. And speaking about the other star campaigners for the 6th phase, BJP Chief Amit Shah is all set to address multiple rallies in Haryana today. He will address the rallies at Barwala in Hisar and Charkhi Dadri in Bhiwani Lok Sabha seat. And Congress President Rahul Gandhi will campaign in Himachal Pradesh today. He will address an election rally in Una in support of party's Hamirpur candidate Ram Lal Thakur. And in Chandigarh, Rahul Gandhi will address a rally in support of his party candidate Pawan Kumar Bansal. Talking about Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, she is campaigning in Uttar Pradesh. She will address 4 rallies today in Siddharth Nagar, in Basti, Khalilabad and Badohi. And BSP Chief Mayawati will hold a rally at the Ramleela Maidan in Delhi, Northeast Delhi that is, in the presence of party's all 5 candidates that are contesting elections in Delhi this time. All right, our reporters are on the ground getting us all the updates on the election news. Akhilesh Suman is joining us live from Bettiah in Bihar. Ravindra Singh Shoran is joining us from Hisar in Haryana. And now Vikram Singh is joining us from Sultanpur. Coming to you first, Akhilesh, speaking about Bihar, of course, caste has always remained a very significant factor in especially Bihar and especially this constituency where you are in at the moment. And as far as this constituency is concerned, it is for the first time locked in a battle of OBCs. It is the last day of campaigning today. Tell us what is happening there.
You know, all the 8 seats in this phase is very important as far as NDA is concerned because, you know, all the 8 seats have been with NDA. And in this situation, you know, the Grand Alliance is trying hard to get it through the caste alliance. And that is how you said that caste is very important in Bihar politics. But, you know, this time I am also feeling that caste are breaking also to some extent. Though the main focus of Grand Alliance is to stitch the alliance of micro alliance of caste, and that is why in the alliance now there is a Kushwaha party, now there is Manji party, and also you know that Yadav Muslim equation is already there. But very interesting caste alliance is there in, you know, Vaishali district and Vaishali constituency where Raghuvansh Prasad Singh is fighting election from the RJD. He is one of the most important leaders of RJD in Bihar. And, you know, he is well known in Bihar politics, known for straight talking. But this time, you know, the caste alliance is working very differently in Vaishali constituency. And you know that Bhumihars are generally away from RJD historically, and they have never gone to RJD any time. But this time, Raghuvansh Prasad is trying hard to get the sympathy of Bhumihar votes in Vaishali, and that is why from Munger, you know, Anand Singh, who is considered to be a strong man among the Bhumihars, he is coming and he is campaigning for Raghuvansh Prasad Singh. And yesterday till 1 a.m. in the night, you know, Anand Singh was moving around Vaishali constituency so that he can transfer the Bhumihar votes in favor of Raghuvansh Prasad Singh. So this is how caste realities are also being tried to change, and leaders are trying to change the caste alliances and caste, combinations.
Yes,
You know,
but
in
we would
Radha
also like
Mohan
to know
Singh
from
constituency, that is
Akhilesh, we
East
will also like to know from Ravindra about the same thing that I'm asking you. Ravindra, you are in Haryana, and Haryana's politics has always been, a Congress and INLD battle for the Jat votes. But, we have seen how BJP has been quoting non-Jat votes as well. And of course, this has made this contest very, very interesting this time. Tell us the updates from there, how caste is playing an important role in Haryana and how things are looking on at the last day of campaigning today.
Yeah, good morning, Aishwarya. Today is the last day of the campaigning, as you know, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to address a public rally in Rohtak. See, why he has chosen Rohtak for the last rally on the last day of the election is that in the last 2014 election, what we have seen is BJP contested 8 seats, and out of 8 seats, they could manage to register a facile victory in the 7 seats, but 1 seat, which was Rohtak, they lost. Rohtak has been considered to be one of the most important seat among the Jat belt. And this is the seat which has been retained for more than 4 times by the Hooda family. And BJP this time wants to break the traditional voter from the Congress party. And that's why Prime Minister is trying to influence the voter there in the Hooda's constituency. This time both the father and son duo are contesting from different seats. Both of these seats are considered to be the Jat belt seats, Rohtak and Sonipat. And Prime Minister has also addressed rallies in Haryana day before yesterday also. And Amit Shah will also address some of the rallies today. In the top leadership of both the political parties, they are trying to secure more and more votes in this election, as we have seen that the INLD, which was one of the regional parties, that has been divided into 2 houses now. One party has been led by the one son of the Chautala, who was the former CM, and another son is leading that party. So the Jat votes, which was considered closer, that the Jat votes are more favoring the INLD, which is a former party now. The INLD and both the new front JJP, they are basically fighting for the survival. BJP is now trying to strengthen their vote bank in all the different classes. Prime Minister, while addressing yesterday, day before yesterday, he has categorically said that the BJP is here focusing on all-round development of this state, which the state has not seen at the time when Congress party was here in the power for last 10 since 2004
has
to 14.
reached its crescendo on the last day of campaigning for the 6th phase. Let's now go across to Navvikram Singh, who is joining us from Sultanpur. Navvikram, a very good morning. Speaking about the 6th phase, a number of political bigwigs are in the fray in this particular phase, and of course, Maneka Gandhi is also one of them, and she is taking on this Mahagathbandhan. She is looking to retain her BJP seat from Sultanpur. What are the updates that you can give us from there?
ऐश्वर्या, इस चरण में ख़ास तौर पर सुल्तानपुर पर सभी की निगाहें टिकी होंगी। इसके अलावा आजमगढ़ भी बहुत अहम सीट है, क्योंकि सपा प्रमुख अखिलेश यादव वहां से चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं। देखिए, अगर इस पूरे चरण में और इसके साथ ही अगले चरण की बात करें, जहां पूर्वांचल में चुनाव हो रहा है, उसमें सबसे अहम मुद्दा विकास का है, क्योंकि पिछले हमने कई सालों में देखा था यहाँ पर, अगर हम बीते दशकों में नज़र डालें तो यहाँ पर लगातार बाहुबलियों का बोलबाला रहा है। और 2014 और 2017 के चुनाव में जनता ने बाहुबली जो यहाँ से नेता है उन्हें काफ़ी हद तक खारिज किया। ऐसे में एक बार सबसे बड़ी चुनौती जो इनके सामने होगी, जो जनता के सामने होगी, वो ये होगी कि जो पुराना जो बाहुबलियों का क्षेत्र है, बाहुबली कई इस बार भी चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, ऐसे में उन्हें वो मजबूत दिखते हैं या फिर जो जनता है वो विकास के मुद्दों को तरजीह देती है। देखिए, पूर्वांचल एक ऐसा इलाका है जहां से देश के कई प्रधानमंत्री आए हैं, बावजूद इसके ये विकास की रेस में कहीं ना कहीं पिछड़ता गया। ऐसे में यहाँ पर जो बीते सालों में सरकार की ओर से पहल की गई है, और इसके अलावा जो सरकार जिस तरीके से यहाँ पर लगातार प्रधानमंत्री और बीजेपी अध्यक्ष अमित शाह की सभाएं हुई हैं, तो बीजेपी अपने आप को मजबूत करने में जुटी है। वहीं समाजवादी पार्टी और बसपा के सामने सबसे बड़ी चुनौती है, क्योंकि आजमगढ़ एक सीट जीती थी केवल उन्होंने पिछले चुनाव में। ऐसे में वो अपना चाहती हैं कि जो वोट शेयर है वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हो और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सीटें जीत सके।
Absolutely. So all the parties looking to woo the voters even on the last day of campaigning today ahead of the 6th phase of Lok Sabha polls on Sunday. Thank you so much, Akhilesh. Thank you so much, Ravindra, as well as Vikram Singh for joining us on and giving us all the updates there on the 6th phase of elections. All right, let's get you some other news now. The Supreme Court will hear together the pleas seeking review of its Rafale verdict of December 2018 and the contempt case against Congress President Rahul Gandhi today. The review petition pertains to the examination of the Supreme Court judgment which ruled out commercial favoritism as alleged by petitioners Arun Shourie, Prashant Bhushan and Yashwant Sinha in the Rafale deal case. And in the contempt case against Rahul Gandhi, the Congress president had tendered an unconditional apology on 8th of May. In an affidavit, he had said that he had wrongly attributed his political jibe against the Prime Minister to the Supreme Court. He said that any attributions to the Supreme Court verdict were entirely unintentional, non-willful and inadvertent. And the Supreme Court will also hear the Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid land dispute case today. A 5-judge constitution bench comprising Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi and Justices S.A. Bobde, D.Y. Chandrachud, Ashok Bhushan and S. Abdul Nazir will hear the matter today. The matter will be heard for the first time since March 8th order of the Apex Court. Now, the order referred the case for mediation by a panel for exploring the possibility of an amicable settlement. The panel is headed by former Apex Court Judge Fakir Muhammad Ibrahim Kalifullah, and the other 2 members on the panel are spiritual guru Sri Ravi Shankar and senior advocate Sri Ram Panchu. The panel was asked by the Apex Court to hold an in-camera proceedings and complete it within 8 weeks. One terrorist has been killed in an exchange of fire with the security forces in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir today. Arms and ammunition were recovered from the spot of the encounter, and the identity and group affiliation of the slain terrorist is being ascertained at the moment. International news now. US and China are holding a 2-day talks in Washington to resolve the ongoing trade war between the 2 nations. On the first day of the talks, US President Donald Trump held out hopes of salvaging a trade deal with China, saying that a trade deal with China was still possible. He said that he had received a letter from his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. However, he warned that he was more than happy to use tariffs in resolving his differences with China. US is set to go ahead with a rise in tariffs of $200 billion in important products from China from midnight on Friday. However, China's top trade negotiator, Liu He, said that an increase in the US tariffs on Chinese goods would not solve anything. And Pope Francis has issued a groundbreaking new church law requiring all the Catholic priests and nuns around the world to report clergy sexual abuse and cover up by their superiors to the church authorities. This in an effort to hold the Catholic hierarchy accountable for failing to protect their flocks. In a letter which is said to become the church law, he makes it clear that any sexual advance involving the use of power will now be considered abusive. The law provides whistleblower protections for anyone making a report and requires all the disclosures to have a system in place to receive the claims confidentially. And it outlines internal procedure for conducting preliminary investigations when the accused is a bishop, cardinal, or a religious superior. Now, the move is being seen as a message to the church hierarchy that no one will be exempt from scrutiny. Remember, the Pope had promised in February to take a concrete action to tackle sexual abuse. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead.